And we're live with another episode of BS Busters. And today we're talking about great games that we've been playing. Pretty damn self-explanatory, really.
Yeah.
So what have you been playing lately?
Well, I'm still playing Doom, though right now I'm taking a break because I'm studying for my exams
Fair
in
enough.
12 weeks.
Fair
I'm,
enough.
I'm currently in the part where I have to face the cyber demon.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you got to the point where you realize that doctor guy has been experimenting on the demons.
Yep.
Creating new, more powerful demons. Which, I mean, really, in the grand scheme of things, seems like a really bad plot because demons are bad enough. Giving them cybernetic enhancements doesn't necessarily seem like a good idea, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is an incredibly deadly creature. Let's make it more deadly. I mean, that's kind of like Jurassic World, World's bad idea all over again. It's like, these are two of the most dangerous creatures ever in this cinematic universe. Let's combine them.
Though, to be fair, the cyber demon has been around since the very first game.
Yeah, but the first game, it was like the reason you had the cyber demon was because, like, basically, when the portal to hell opened up, demons came through, took the technology, and went back and used it to augment themselves. Doom 2016, literally, like, this doctor guy is like, yeah, demons are bad, but you know what? I think I can make them better with cybernetics.
Not to mention try to use them for business practices, which we see in Doom Eternal.
Yeah, that's just not a good idea.
And then the Doom guy has to fix all their messes.
Well, the new Doom guy, although it would be cool if they had made like a new Doom guy, like if they had like the old Doom guy pop up and be like, stop being a bitch. Like even more hardcore than the new Doom guy. The only thing that kind of brings down Doom 2016 for me is that it doesn't have a very good soundtrack.
Right.
Sadly.
I mean, I only remember the remix of At Doom's Gate from the very beginning.
Yeah, but the remix is ass. I mean, I hate to say that. It's not very good. It doesn't even sound like At Doom's Gate. So,
is it that bad?
It's not very good. Like here's my rule of thumb when it comes to a good first person shooter on the PC. And I know people are gonna say Doom 2016's on everything. Yeah, but it's primarily at its core, it's a PC first person shooter. When I think, like, here's how you can tell if a first person shooter especially is really good. If you can play the first Doom level's theme music, and the music goes along with how you should be playing, then that's a good first person shooter. If you can't, it's not very good. That's my rule of thumb.
That's a weird standard to go with as far as first shooters.
Doesn't this apply to any genre of a video game? Like Vampire Killer and is played in the very first level of Castlevania.
Well, I mean, you could use that for other games. Like a Castlevania game isn't good if you turn off the music and you play any of the Castlevania music over it. Like if the music fits in your head, then that's a good Castlevania game. If it doesn't, that Castlevania game isn't very good. It's the reason why the Mercury Steam Castlevania games are ass.
I have to raise a brow because that's a weird standard.
Yes, it is, but it works. Look, man, it may be weird, but if it works, there's some validity to it. For example, right? It's kind of like if you're watching a Superman movie, right? And you can't imagine them playing the classical Superman theme to it, any of the classical Superman themes, not just the John Williams theme, but like the old George Reeves one from the 1950s / 60s, whatever. Like if it just doesn't fit, then it's not very good, you know. Right. And that's what just about, you know.
What about listening to 60s Batman music in a more darker Batman movie like Tim Burton's Batman or Nolan's
Actually, Batman? I've done that, and it actually does kind of work. Actually, it would be even hilarious. It would be even better if they had the Biff Pals over the punches. like Batman punches a guy. Pow! Yeah, that would be great. I would love that. That would be fucking awesome. Unfortunately, we'll never get that because you know, Batman's everyone's like
dark and gritty.
Well, no, everyone thinks that they're gonna add something. It's like comes a certain point where shit has been perfected, and there's nothing you're gonna be able to add to it, right?
Right.
Like I know a lot of people like I like Hans Zimmer's score in the Batman in the
Nolan trilogy.
In the Nolan trilogy, but that music is utterly fucking forgettable. By and large, except for maybe the theme that he uses for the Joker blowing shit the fuck up. But, you know, I've heard better music on other things. For example, I think Joker's music from Batman the Animated Series is better. And I know some people are going to get mad when they hear that.
That's not a bad thing, though. If anything, this is where I try to put each game, have each different category, because basing something on just one thing kind of makes it hard to imagine things without it.
No, I understand where you're coming from. I'm simply saying that, yes, at a certain point, you've reached the pinnacle of something, and you really can't, like, all you can do is just refine what's already there. Like
several remixes of it.
Basically. I mean, like, I'll give you an example, okay? Like the theme for Knight Rider, right?
Right.
Like that theme is really iconic, right? Yeah, they did a remake. They did like a reboot of Knight Rider, and the theme was shit because it really wasn't even anything close to the original. Like, you got to get the theme right with these things. Like, you know, it's all about the theme. If the theme is good, everything else turns out to be pretty well. If the theme sucks, then everything else kind of falls apart. And I know some people are going to get mad when they hear that because, you know, the theme is what gets you pumped up for what you're about to see. For example, Magnum P.I. Magnum P.I. had a great theme.
I don't think I've heard of it.
Magnum PI. Here, I'll give you a link to the theme.
All right.
I kind of get where you're coming from there.
I'll YouTube it and leave it in the thing, and once you hear it, you're gonna be like, oh shit, yeah, this totally gets me pumped up for a PI private eye show about a former Navy lieutenant in the Navy who's now a private eye in Hawaii, solving crimes and kicking people's ass while driving a Corvette. The Magnum PI theme. I'll give you the extended version because that's probably a little bit better. And let me link you the. I'll put it in the chat.
All right.
Now go listen to that.
All right.
And you're gonna be like, wow, that's actually pretty good.
Audio.
This sounds familiar.
That's the Magnum PI theme. I mean, we had really good themes back in the 80s, like much better than anything.
Well, yes, music has changed over the years. Some for the better, some for the worse. And
Yeah,
somebody actually made a video about that.
yeah, music has changed. Well, not really. It's a cycle. Things go back and then they come back again. Things are constantly being recycled. For example, I mean, think of it like this, right? Like everyone, remember, like 2 years ago, everyone's like auto tune, auto tune, auto tune, and they're acting like the shit's new.
Oh, it wasn't that but that was in the 2000s where autotune was very new. Or was it in the late 90s?
No, recently, auto tune was this big thing like a few years ago. Like everyone was fucking using it in their music. But here's the thing, right? It's that auto tune, while they were like, yeah, they were treating it like it was some new shit. We had auto tune in the late 70s and the 80s, and it was a big thing. Like there's nothing that's really new. It's just constantly being redone, you know?
I consider evolved music at times. I said at times because sometimes you don't need to change the music, how the music grow, in order to have good music.
Well, I'm not really going to say evolved because evolution implies that it's something new, but I mean, really, it's all just the same shit being redone over and over and over and over and over again, in less flattering ways in some cases. It's very rarely are these people doing things that are truly new or revolutionary, which is sad, but that's the world we live in.
That I can understand at least.
Unless we have an intelligent being that tries and creates something purely original.
No,
that's
man.
Never been done ever.
That is a hard thing.
No, man. There are very few ideas that are new in this world, which is sad, but very few new things in this world. Okay, most of everything you see has been done before, and to some extent, right?
True, but if anything, at least if and how you use it, it can feel new at least.
Yeah. Although there were major shifts in music in the turn of the century, right? Not the turn of the century, but after World War I, where you had people, we had black people who had been people of color who had been essentially like classically trained musicians who weren't allowed to ply their trade in certain places in America because they were black, and so basically they had to create a new form of music and play it wherever they could, and that's how you had the birth of jazz or blues, where that came about because of the legacy of slavery. So, I mean, there's some really cool shit. There's some really cool shit that's come about. There's some really cool music that's come about, but by and large, everything is just like rehashes and regurgitated over and over again. Speaking of regurgitated shit, what other games do you think Nintendo is going to port over from the Wii U?
Yes, Super Mario Maker.
Segway.
No. I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, if they do port Super Mario Maker, it's probably not going to be as good as.
Yeah, because in a sense, that's one of the few things of a dual screen era that you would like to have.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. The reason why they ported it onto the 3DS is because of the dual screen support.
Yeah, if they put that game, if they port that game over, it's gonna be it's kind of like how Splatoon 2 isn't quite as good without the dual screen experience that Splatoon had.
Yeah. Some games are needing the dual screen experience in order to really experience it.
Yeah, like RPGs work really well with that dual screen experience.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like I'm getting gypped out of something when I have an RPG that's only one screen, and I'm gonna mention this because of the new game I got, which is Saturday Morning RPG.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got that game for PC like a long time ago for like 50 cents on a sale. But yeah, it's I mean, it's just one. I mean, it's kind of like once you go to dual screen, it's really hard to go back. You know, it's kind of like once you go to see what's another thing.
Once you go to a good restaurant, some of the other restaurants feel inferior to it.
Yeah, or once you go to a really good pizza place. Once you go to a really good pizza place, it's really hard to eat cheap, bad pizza again. Because you know it's cheap and bad. It's like, what is this shit, you know? And that's where we live now. I mean, that's what we have to deal with now, which is sad, but that's what we got going.
Yeah, all because, if anything else, nobody supports the dual screen experience. No, or at least not the. At least nobody that likes the dual screen experience is supporting it.
So, anyway, any great games you've been playing recently, Joel?
Yes, that was the question I was going to ask you.
Oh, the newest one of my newer games that I've been playing. And you probably got, and I could guess one of you probably already have it. Battle Chef Brigade.
Yeah. I got that game on PC when it came out, but that's a pretty good game.
It figures.
Yeah.
But if anything, the game really works well with me, at least.
Yeah.
It's a good puzzle game and battle game and action platform game.
Yeah, it's astonishingly good. And it combines like a beat 'em up, like a 2D platformy beat 'em up with a puzzle game in a good way. Like it's not like forced. It actually works.
Yeah, and if you're wondering, I'm around chapter 5 right now.
Does the game include muscular men rather than cute anime girls like Kantai Collection, which is another video game involving battleships, except they turned them into cute anime girls?
I might want to smack you for that one.
Well, it doesn't really have battleships. It's Battle Chef Brigade, so it's.
I thought you meant Battleship Brigade.
No. It's people cooking. It's people like you go and you fight monsters and attack like plants and shit, and they drop ingredients, and then you put them in your pocket and go back to your skillet, to your kitchen, and you cook it up and you serve it to judges. It's actually a pretty neat concept.
I feel so dumb now. I thought you said Battleship rather than Battle Chef.
No, it's Battle Chef Brigade.
Oh God, I almost face palmed hearing you say that.
Yeah. I like it though. I think it's one of those games. Like it's one of those games that like normally like hybrids, they're either gonna like hybrid games either gonna really work or fail miserably.
It depends on the game types.
Well, I mean, sometimes it works really well and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it worked really well. Like basically hybrids work when you take two
conflicting.
When you take when you take at least two. You take at least two and you combine them together that complement each other. Like the original ActRaiser, where you had action adventure, but then you kind of broke up the action adventure aspect with a strategy thing.
Puzzle Quest. I just remembered that one.
Puzzle Quest, where it's an RPG, but you fight like battles and stuff by with more traditional matching 3, 4, 5 stuff and using special abilities and shit.
And sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes the mixing of the genre doesn't work. Like for example, the Sonic Adventure games, where they try to mix and match different gameplay styles for different characters.
Well, Sonic Adventure doesn't work just because it's not very well designed. like the trying to shift Sonic, to shift Sonic's 2D format into a 3D format isn't as effective.
I was going to say there's a better example than Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 by some extent. Sonic and Sonic Chronicles, or people most know it, the Sonic RPG series, or
I mean,
single game, anyways.
the Sonic Chronicles was actually pretty good. That actually worked. Sonic Spinball is a failure.
What?
Is Sonic Spinball? You know,
I
Sonic
look at you
Spinball.
weirdly because I have
Sonic Spinball is a pinball game, and that completely goes against Sonic's ethos because Sonic the Hedgehog, like when you think of Sonic the Hedgehog, think of it's basically a 2D runner, right?
Right.
And then you have a spinball game where you're pretty much stuck in the same static areas, bouncing around. It's weird.
There's also another Sonic spin-off that goes against the Sonic ethos, Sonic Labyrinth.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh gods.
Yeah, the game where they took away Sonic's ability to run fast.
Yeah,
I mean,
that one's worse. That one's worse than Sonic Chronicles, and yet I'm not sure if it's better or worse than Sonic Spinball.
I mean, hybrids work when they're done. Hybrids work when they're done really, 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 really fucking well. Hybrids can work. They work badly when like I said, when you take two things and you combine them together, it can work. If you do more than two and you do 3, 4, then it starts falling apart.
You're asking for an explosion.
Like Dark Cloud 2, which tried to have the original Dark Cloud's like a 3D version of ActRaiser. The action adventure portion is you going into dungeons, fighting monsters, finding treasure, getting further down into the dungeon and finding these Ultimia spheres, which basically you would activate, which would you could then use once you went outside of the dungeon to rebuild that area, that country, that town, that city, whatever. And that was kind of like the strategy aspect of it, and that was a nice mix. And then they did Dark Cloud 2, where they added golf, fishing, manufacturing, and had the rebuilding the world and a time aspect, and that's just too much shit going on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Anything else regarding hybrid games before we move on?
No, that's it. It's just it like hybrids. Just like if you go with 2, it's fine. If maybe even 3, sometimes you can get away with it. But once you go beyond that, it just gets ridiculous.
You're asking for an explosion in the experimental kitchen.
Yeah, but I've a great game I've been playing recently. I've been playing the shit out of Dragon Quest 11. And you know, it's a pretty good RPG. Is it the best RPG I've ever played?
Not really, but
is it the best Dragon Quest game I've ever played? Once again, no. But
and so Square Enix has just announced that they're finally porting it onto the Switch, but it's going to be called Dragon Quest 11S.
Well, I mean, they
11S.
said they were doing it. They said they were going to do it. They were doing it a while ago, but I mean, like, you know, there's like a caveat to it because that's how Square Enix is with everything. It's like, yeah, we're doing this, but you know, Square Enix is like, okay, we got a pizza for you, but it fell on the ground and we had to wipe the dirt off. Like, that's Square Enix. There's always like an aside that makes it not.
I was gonna say there's always a butt in the clause of a.
Yeah. They're like, I heard you ran out of toilet paper. Yeah, and we brought you a new roll to fix that. Thanks. Unfortunately, it's the cheapest toilet paper available, and and you're gonna need half the roll just to wipe once. So, yeah.
That's the evil one ply I hate.
That's Square Enix right there. It's like they tell you something, but there's always like this caveat that's like
Catch-22.
yeah.
Here's your roll of toilet paper, but it's one ply only.
Yeah, that's.
Oh God, I just hope that we at least get to try to enjoy some of the games that Square Enix brings, but something makes me wonder if it's a monkey's paw.
Well, the sad thing is that, I mean, basically, I've written off the Square portion of Square Enix. Enix still makes good games. They just have been acting kind of shitty lately. Lately, they've been acting kind of shitty lately.
Sadly, since Square and Enix did the fusion dance, it's kind of hard to break them apart without something being said about having both of them together.
Yeah, they've been acting kind of shitty lately, but you know, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. I'm just gonna say it right now. Everyone's like, look, the quality of their games is still pretty good.
I didn't say it's bad, but I'm just saying that you're kind of having a cursed wish on you. Like you get what you want, but there comes a catch-22 with that wish.
Well, the quality of their games haven't really gone down. The only flaw that I have is that they're shit that they should be localizing that they won't. Like why do we have to beg? Like why haven't we gotten Dragon Quest X localized? You know, like it's little shit like that where I'm just like, okay, you guys are just fucking up big time. And there's no excuse for it.
Yeah, even though I'm surprised and happy to see 7, 9, and at least half of the 10 series come to the Switch. It makes me wonder, where's the rest of the other stuff that you promised?
What do you mean, Final Fantasy?
The Final Fantasies I already remembered that they said coming, which is a surprise, a good one. But I know that they also promised a few Dragon Quest games.
Well, I mean, like you can get all of the Dragon Quests on Nintendo platforms. That's not really like a.
I mean, localized.
Localized. I mean, like you can get 1 and 2 on the Game Boy Color. You can get 3 on the Game Boy Color. You can get 4 on the DS. You can get 5 on the DS. You can get 6 on the 3DS. You can get 7 on the 3DS, if I remember correctly. Yes, you can get. What other ones can you get? You can get. You can get 8 on the 3DS. You can get what else? You can get 9 on the DS. You can get the only one they haven't brought over is 10. And 11 is coming to the Switch. So I mean, you can they're easily gotten. Yeah. Now, if you want to talk about a company having their thumb up their ass, you know, Square Enix having their thumb up their ass about getting certain games out, you got to talk about the Final Fantasy series.
Yeah, that is a pain. That's a pain to remember, because how long did it take for them to finally put certain games on Nintendo platform, and how many games have they screwed over when they said that certain games do not follow on Nintendo platform?
Well, let's see. We got 1 and 2 for the Game Boy Advance. We got 3 on the DS. We got what else do we get? We got
4, which is 2 on the SNES.
Yeah, 4, which is 2 on the SNES. But that, like the one we got here in America is a shitty version of that game.
And
so I'm not.
And I think we got 5 on the GBA.
Yeah, we got 5 on the GBA. We got
6 on the SNES, or is it
6 on the
or 3?
SNES. Yeah, 6 on the SNES, which is a really fucking good game. I mean, whoever you are, no one will ever say that 6 is not one of the best RPGs ever made, because it is. And then 7, we lost. It was supposed to be on the N64, but
Sony stole it.
yeah, Sony,
Now it's coming back on the Switch.
Yeah, but do I really like the way I feel about that game now? Like, I don't even really want it anymore because I already got it for like PC like years ago. So like at this point, I'm not like enthralled with Final Fantasy like I used to be. And then 8, which is not very good. Like 7 is not good. 8 is worse than 7.
Probably the reason why it's not coming up.
Yeah, and then you get 9, which is a lot of people like that one. I always felt it was kind of meh, but a lot of people like it. I think it's better than 8 and 7, but that's not really saying much. Like 7 is basically Final Fantasy 6 done badly. 8 is like, okay, people seem to respond to the emo as fucks Cloud Strife, so we'll go even more emo and get someone even more.
The only thing salvageable from Final Fantasy 8 is the mini game.
So they went even more emo, with someone even worse than Cloud Strife, with what's his name?
Squall. That's his name, Squall.
Yeah, Squall, who's incredibly fucking. Like, he's even more emo than Cloud Strife, which I didn't think it was possible, but they managed to pull it off. So.
And his sword can also be used as a gun.
Yeah, he's got a gun sword, which in reality is like one of the most impossible weapons ever made, but whatever.
But isn't the Buster Sword also an impossible weapon?
Well, the Buster Sword is an impossible weapon because of Cloud Strife's height, but there are weapons that were made during the medieval ages called horse swords, horse buster swords, which were made so that an infantryman could take on cavalry, and they were basically a buster sword, and it was just basically made to just kill horses, to do massive damage to horsemen, so that cavalry couldn't do shit. At
least that has more. That
is a weapon that actually exists.
That can happen.
I mean, Cloud Strife's short height makes it damn near impossible for him to use it,
but it can be wielded.
But there is a Buster Sword in real life, and it can be used.
The swords are BS. Then.
To be fair, Cloud has the DNA of Genosis.
It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is that, it's all about proportional, all that shit. Like, proportionally speaking, someone who looks to be around 5'6" should not be physically able to pick up a
sword that is near their height.
Well, a sword that's like 6'4". Like that is basically it's physiologically impossible. If he did it, his arm would have to be the size of Barrett's thigh, but it's not. like that. So I mean, look, I know it's a video game, blah blah blah. I'm just simply saying it's bullshit, but but it's based on a real weapon.
But it has some real physics to it, right?
Yeah, it's bullshit, so you let it go because it's based on a real weapon. But the problem with
gun sword?
The problem with the gun sword is that in order for you to make a gun that's also a sword,
you need to hollow out a barrel for the bullets. And what are swords known for? Being solid.
Well, not just that. Mechanically, you'd have a sword. If you made a sword that was also a gun, the sword would basically you wouldn't be able to use it as a sword. Like, it would be a really shitty sword. Like, the first time you use it to slash someone, it would break. It would be, and if you used it If you made it so that the sword part worked, and you shot it, it would get smashed. So either way, you'd be fucked. So
The only way I could see this even being remotely possible of sorts is if it's shooting blanks and you're using it as a sword and using the explosion for extra impact. And
yeah,
that's a
but even
stretch.
then, that's bullshit. But anyway, yeah, as I was saying, not a huge like not the biggest fan of Final Fantasy VIII, but basically, I mean, until now, Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, they were all PlayStation exclusives. And then Final Fantasy X, which I mean is a pretty shitty game. I don't think anyone is ever going to say that it's not shitty.
Well, one of our contributors from Video Game Facts will tell you it's not.
Okay, well, people with sense won't say that it's not shitty. Well, actually, no, I take that back. Final Fantasy X isn't shitty. Titus is shitty. Titus brings it down.
That's the hard part because you want to love the game, but
well, I don't want to love it, but
it's like you want to like this person of sorts, but then you see that one annoyance hanging on their shoulder.
yeah, it's better. Let me put it this way: it's better than it has any bit. Like here's the thing: Final Fantasy X is Hironobu Sakaguchi's last Final Fantasy game, like mainline Final Fantasy game, and it could have been great, except there's one small, tiny, little problem. The main character, the character that's supposed to link you to everything else going on in the game, is a tool. So it's really hard to get into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Titus, like literally, if Titus wasn't in the game and you just had Yuna, it would probably would have been considered one of the best RPGs ever made. And like some people say, well, Square Enix was afraid of having a female protagonist. And to that, I say bullshit, because they've had female protagonists before in RPG. I mean, you had Terra. You had Terra in Final Fantasy 6. And she literally was like the main character. Like when you start the game, she is the first character that you can control, and she's totally badass. She's meant to be overpowered as fuck. And really, there's no one who has more of a cause to be vengeful than her.
And then you have the white mage from the very first Final Fantasy.
Yeah, but those characters are almost genderless in the first Final Fantasy. Like they don't even. I mean, in the original NES version. Now later versions, the white mage looks like a woman, but maybe it could just be a really effeminate looking dude. You know.
In short, gender was hard to describe as far as you could see in Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah, which is why I kind of always gave
a pass.
Dragon Quest. No, I gave Dragon Quest bonus points because basically you could tell when a character was male or female in Dragon Quest. There was a major distinction, which I like. I like that there are. It's like, oh, that's clearly a dude. That's clearly a woman. Blah blah blah. Like I like that. Because like especially in later Dragon Quest where you could create your own character and shit, I thought that was really cool. But that's neither here nor there. Any other games you guys want to? I mean, we got some time. So any other games you guys want to talk about? Because I don't want to monopolize it with RPGs. I mean, we could, but we already had an RPG cast a while ago. I don't want to turn this into another one.
Well, I just recently bought Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Dragon Ball!
Though I haven't started playing it yet because I'm still trying to finish Doom first.
All right.
Of course, the pew 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 pew.
And of course, I pre-ordered FighterZ because there was because Namco Bandai did a bonus did a bonus thing that if you pre-order the game, if you pre-order the Switch game, you get an access code to download the very first Dragon Ball Z fighting game from the Super Famicom.
That game is not very good.
I tried
If
it
you
out.
want to roll with that, go ahead.
I
Your money.
I tried it out and I had trouble getting the hang of it.
Well, of course you did, because it's not very good. It's not a very good game.
I think one of the first good fighting games of Dragon Ball series was probably on the SNES.
No, it wasn't. It basically Dragon Ball didn't get good as a fighting game until the Gen 6, where you got
You mean the
Budokai.
GameCube series?
No, just Gen 6, because Budokai was also on the PlayStation. Like, it didn't get good until Budokai. Because basically, like, the amount of shit you can do in a Dragon Ball game does not translate well to like the standard 2D Street Fighter format, which is what everyone else was using at the time. So it's just one of those things. I know some people are going to get angry when they hear that.
Weird.
It's just the way it is.
I was at least trying to think of when the first good fighting game that's Dragon Ball came up.
I mean, like I said, the best now there were good Dragon Ball games before that. I mean, you had the Dragon Ball Advance game for the Game Boy Advance that was like,
I thought that was an action RPG game.
Yeah, it was an action RPG, but it was a good game. Relatively good. You had the two you had the two Monolith Soft Dragon Ball Z games. Legacy of Goku. The first one's not that good, but the second one's really good because you have more playable characters and you can do things that go against the storyline, like have Piccolo kill the Saiyan, like beat the shit out of everybody if you want to. Even though in the comics, like in the manga, the only time he gets to kick anyone's ass is Imperfect Cell, but that's about it. Maybe kick a few of the androids' asses, which is kind of sad because Piccolo's like my favorite character, but whatever. But anyway, speaking of Dragon Ball, one of the most hilarious things about Dragon Quest is that all the artwork is done by Armor Bird Studios, aka Akira Toriyama's studios, because his name translated is Armor Bird. So basically, like when you're playing Dragon Quest, especially the 3D Dragon Quest, you see all these character models that look like shit from Dragon Ball. And it's just kind of in Dragon Ball Z, and it's just ridiculous. Like, is that Gohan? Is that Zarbon? Hey, that dude looks just like Frieza. It's kind of hilarious. I'm just saying, it's kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought that would be kind of funny. Let's see what else. What else? But yeah, Dragon Ball. Like my problem with Dragon Ball is that like it kind of reached, like it kind of, for me, the games kind of reached their pinnacle with the Budokai series, and then with Tenkaichi and the later ones, it just became too much of a shoot energy ball fest. And that's it. Just shoot tons and tons of energy balls.
Up until Dragon Ball FighterZ was now less about shooting fire.
Yeah. But Dragon Ball Fighter Z is from the Arc System Work people, so they know beat 'em ups. You know.
Yeah.
I trust them. I don't trust other people though.
It's kind of weird that they could do a better fighting game system than
Namco Bandai.
Then Soul Calibur and, of course, the ever famous Street Fighter.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's better than Street Fighter because that's kind of a harsh
But she's talking about Street Fighter 5.
Yeah, but that's like you're judging something at its lowest point. That's not really a fair comparison.
Ouch.
You know, that's like saying, man, this dude is ugly. Well, why are you picking them when they're at their lowest point? Of course, someone's going to be at their ugliest when they're at their lowest point.
I was going to say that as of the current generation, I'm trying to at least compare them to where they are in the current age.
Yeah, but
if anything, the last gen, I think they probably still had a better shot than others. At least I'm guessing.
I mean, here's what I'll say. I'll say that Street Fighter overall has been more influential on the industry, and it has than the licensed Street Fighter games. Not that they're terrible, but I mean they just aren't like,
it has its moments.
I mean, like no one's gonna say the Dragon Ball games are the benchmark for 2D fighting games, because they aren't. That's Street Fighter. Or you could go with SNK, but I was never really like hyped up on SNK. I know a lot of people were though, but I'm not one of them.
Well, let's see. Oh yeah, my thoughts of something else was supposed to be about the Soul Calibur series.
Oh yeah. Soul Calibur series just been downhill for years now. I'm not gonna lie to you.
To me,
it kind of reached its pinnacle at 2 and 3, and then 4 was just trash, and 5 was even worse.
And by how I'm looking at 6, it's not looking any better, because seriously, Soul Calibur hasn't been about energy system, and yet they added one in.
Well, they had one in 5 too.
And how did that turn out?
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be a reboot.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had to reboot it because they were trying to keep it in like a steady timeline, which wasn't working because people's favorite characters were getting old, and no one wants to play as an old, broke down Mitsurugi or a dead Cassandra. Like, no one wanted to play as these characters. So what they did is they just rebooted. Which, I mean, look, here's the thing. I'm okay with that, but like I don't think Soul Calibur needs super moves. Like super moves are for people who don't know how to play fighting games.
That's the funny thing. I consider super moves to be accidental emergency buttons that you have to do a performance in order to use.
That's what I'm saying. They're for people who don't know how to play fight. Because like, okay, especially a game like Soul Calibur, where Soul Calibur, the whole point behind Soul Calibur was to learn, like you had to learn how to use parries and blocks and stuff. Right? That's how you got good at it.
Yeah. Parries, blocks, throws.
Well, not throw so much, but like you had to learn how to do blade clashes and parries and stuff like that, because that was the core of the game, was how to parry and clash, so that you could basically break up an enemy's combos so that you could get your own combos and stuff like that. And then they added super moves for people who didn't want to do that. It's like, well, I just filled up my super meter and now I'm going to use it and just do massive damage, and that completely negates like the skill level. Yeah. So
if you want super move, if you want something that has super move meter, gauge, whatever, have it in something that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like Puzzle Fighter, like the Street Fighter puzzle, or the super deformed, the super deformed.
Yeah.
the super deformed
Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo.
the super deformed 2D fighting game with the gems that Capcom did.
Yeah, that's a.
Like,
Yeah, I said it. And I said the name of it. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, go ahead, make it as lame as humanly possible. I don't care, but if I'm playing Street Fighter, if I'm playing like what's supposed to be a core RPG, then it can't be like friggin' like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, energy meters are usually found in fighting in certain fighting games that have no skill needed.
Yeah.
There's RPG games where it's like a
It's a
counter
resource. Yeah,
system.
it's a resource you're going to use when you need help.
Yeah. Even card games could pull this off better than Soul Calibur.
Yeah, I mean, Soul Calibur just it kind of broke the game, and not to mention that Soul Calibur 5 had no real story mode and no like the thing that Soul Calibur was kind of a hallmark of Soul Calibur is that it had a really in-depth like alternate single player mode. Like you had like normal arcade mode.
It has a bit of a story mode with Destiny battles.
Yeah, normal arcade mode, and then you had like story mode, and then you had like some other stuff, and then it would culminate with you having like and then you had like another mode that was like basically like a single player RPG thing going on.
Yeah, I like how 3 and 2 had a story where you could branch off and do different things and have certain battle conditions.
Yeah, 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 and it also was almost like a little tutorial too, where you could learn like different ways of fighting. It was just a very well made game. And 3 had something similar as well, and 4 did, and then they went to 5, which was just embarrassingly bad, like embarrassingly bad.
And 6 is looking to turn out the same way, even though it is quite a treat for the eyes.
Well, from what I've seen, it's gonna have a single player. It's going to have like a Souls mode. I mean, if it didn't have that notorious Namco Bandai shitty ass microtransactions, I would get it day one. But
the real thing that makes me wonder and worry in a sense is, are they or gonna have you be able to use certain weapons, as in have multiple different weapons to use in the Soul Calibur series, or at
like they
least that
did
part?
back in the day,
Yes.
well, I'd be cool with that. Like if they have multiple weapons like they did, where you could like buy weapons that changed up how you
How
did
you
certain
battle?
things. Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, they had it in previous other titles. I don't know about 5, but I know 4, 3, 2, 1.
yeah. I mean, that was one of the biggest things that drew me into Soul Calibur.
So
Even if you have a mirror match, you can have different weapons.
yeah,
That and the guest characters.
yeah. I mean,
Yes,
like here's the thing. I
guest
like the
characters in
guest
creative
characters.
fighters. That's a bit of a cherry on top than a real
Yeah,
feature.
yeah. The guest characters are kind of like a bonus, but they're not absolutely needed. You know.
I mean, guest characters kind of fill that void in when you think of 3.
Right. I mean, I think 3 was the only Soul Calibur game that doesn't have any guest characters.
No, 3 had guest characters. Starting with 2, they all had guest characters. Although 3's guest characters were forgettable because no one remembers them.
Well, 2 out of the 3.
So like 3 had guest characters, 4 had guest characters, 2 had guest characters. I don't know about 6. No, 6 is supposed to have guest characters, but none of them really fucking matter because no one cares.
One of them is supposed to be the Witcher guy.
Yeah, the Witcher guy, which I'm like I don't even consider that to be.
And video game icon, since he's technically not a video game character.
I mean, he is, but he's also a character from books. But whatever. I mean, I'll accept it. I'm not like enthralled with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, I'm kind of salty because I'm a Nintendo fan, and I really, 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 really wanted them to do one for
Soul Calibur 2 remake.
No, I don't want a redux of the game. I already have like 3 copies of that game for the GameCube. No, what I wanted was a Soul Calibur game for the for the Nintendo system that had Link in it, like like it was back in the day. But to hell with that, because they were like, "Oh, we didn't know about the Switch." I'm like, "How the fuck do you not know?" Like, I refuse to believe that Nintendo wasn't like, "Yeah, we're making a new console."
Yeah, that's like saying that you didn't think that Sony or Microsoft were going to have new consoles.
That's so much bullshit. Like, I'm tired of them saying that.
That just triggers a truckload of salt to come in.
And I know bullshit when I see bullshit, okay?
I think we've rambled on enough about Soul Calibur and whatnot.
Yes, we have.
So I guess we could either continue on with great games we played recently or move on to video game news.
No, we can go to video game news because I'm sure there's some bullshit going on someplace. That never ends.
Fallout 76. Oh, God.
Oh, you mean how Bethesda showed their ass about crossplay, and then it turns out, oh, wait, no, we're not going to have crossplay.
Yeah, I want to kick their ass for that stunt.
Well, I don't. I mean, it should be fairly obvious that wasn't going to happen.
Because that was trolling.
Let's not forget the recent news that Sony has finally caved into the whole crossplay thing.
Yeah.
Actually, they're dragging their feet still because they only got it with certain games.
Yeah, but I mean, you know why they did it, right?
Right. Because they don't want their games to be cross-played with Nintendo and Microsoft.
Well, no, because it's basically if you're gonna play the thing, you got to play it on you got to buy their system to play their games. That's what that shit's about.
They want their power.
They're like, oh, you want to play this game? Well, you got to play this game on our system. I mean, I understand it. I mean, I'm not one of those people, oh, no. How dare they want things their way? Because it's their money.
I was going to say, I can understand some of this, but if it's supposed to go to every platform and they're going for crossplay, it kind of makes me wonder, are they seriously going to do something that limits them by handcuffing?
They don't care about crossplay because, like, here's the thing. Sony is the lead platform, okay? So they have no incentive to play nice with anybody, right?
Lead platform by cheating.
Which is lead platform because Microsoft fucked up royally because they're stupid. But hey guys, we're gonna make a video game console, and we're not gonna talk about any of the video games coming to it. We're gonna talk about TV, and sports. I'm like, what?
I was gonna say, Sony was about to pull off some of that stuff too.
Yeah, and as soon as they saw Microsoft do it. Like, here's what Microsoft did when they launched the original Xbox. It's the equivalent of a dude pulling out his penis and then opening up a car door, sliding his junk into the groove where the car door meets the latch that closes it.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be graphic.
Slamming his junk in the car door. And Sony was like, I almost signed up to do the same thing, but since I saw Microsoft do it, I don't think I'll do that
tried not to. I
And
tried
that's
to warn the
basic-
people because you were about to get graphic. Because I just realized what you're going for.
Because that's basically what Microsoft did with the release, with the launch of the original Xbox. Okay, folks. Like, I know people are like, I love my Xbox. Look, I'm not discounting your love of your piece of plastic that plays games. I'm simply saying that Microsoft discounted it because they didn't give a shit about you or your game or what you were gaming for. They didn't care because Microsoft is like they did not care. They totally discounted the people who bought that system. So I can't say I'm surprised because I'm not. I'm not surprised. At this point, I'm not surprised by anything Microsoft does when it comes to gaming because they've shown that they have no friggin' idea what they're doing with their gaming console. Like, not a clue. Like, if you want to know how to build, if you want to know how to have a badly run video game division, follow Microsoft because that's a badly run video game division. People think Nintendo's bad. Shit.
Nintendo may have their goof ups, but they are nothing compared to what the other two pull off.
Yeah, Nintendo's not perfect, but compared to Microsoft and Sony, god damn. But anyway, give us some more news.
Speaking of Nintendo, one of our contributors just gave us an article about Nintendo suing a go-kart company for using their characters and getting blamed for their mishaps.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I was like, damn. That's not cool.
Well, to be fair, they had to do it because they were getting tired of being put to blame for something they weren't not involved in.
Yeah. Mario ran me over in his go-kart. That son of a bitch. Why are you calling us about this? You know Mario's a fictitious character. I saw it downtown. Have you been smoking weed, sir? Have you been smoking weed? Lots and lots of weed. Yeah, I get it. I mean, they had to protect themselves legally, but I just don't think it could have gone to that point. I don't think it needed to go to that point, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm that type of guy.
Next up, the Club Penguin Island just shut down.
Yeah, I heard about that. I was like, I find myself not really caring that much. I mean, I know that sounds terrible, but
I mean, Club Penguin has been a childhood memory for an entire generation of gamers.
I know. I'm just saying.
I'm a Neopet player.
Yeah, I never did Club Penguin, so like I said, find myself not caring that much. The only online MMOs I remember playing was Guild Wars 2 to an extent, but the first Guild Wars especially, and the Cartoon Network Fusion thing.
Fusion Fall.
Yeah, Fusion Fall thing. That was kind of a fun little game, but like at the end, I got tired of the microtransactions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I stopped playing after a while because I was like at a certain point, you couldn't get farther unless you spent like real world money. And I hate, like, here's the thing. If you want to charge me $39.99 to buy a game, you know, or $19.99 or whatever, I'll buy it. But don't. I hate microtransactions.
Right.
I don't like that. But yeah, I heard Club Penguin was shutting down, which isn't surprising because they shut down all that other shit before. So,
moving on, Monolith Soft Artist is asking fans to share interest for bringing Kados 3 to Namkai.
Why do we have to keep on begging for shit? That's my only thing. Like, why?
Especially if you're a Nintendo player, this really hurts because really we have standards too. our standards may be higher than the other two, but we have standards.
Why do I have to beg like a dog? That's my question.
I mean, this is not the first time we had to beg Bandai Namco to port a game to ask for a new game for a Nintendo system or a new entry to a long forgotten series.
Like, why do I have to beg? Is my question. Like, why?
Because apparently begging is because companies will only listen to the loudest voices rather than the silent majority.
And I'm just saying, like, why? No, there is no silent majority because Baten Kaitos 2 didn't sell nearly as well as the first game, even though they casualized the shit out of it to make it appeal to people who don't like to play RPGs. And my point behind all of it is, what's the point, I mean, like, and here's the thing. Like, I'm someone who bought Baten Kaitos, the first one, and I bought Origins because I like the first one so much, and the first Origins is just a disappointment. But, I bought it. I played it. I beat it. And I mean, I would love another Baten Kaitos, but I'm not gonna beg like a damn dog for a scrap of meat. Hey, can I get that game?
So moving on, Microsoft is bringing back the XO show, whereas Sony announced that there will be no PlayStation Experience show this year.
Okay. I have one question, just one small little short question.
And
does anyone give a shit about Microsoft having their own show?
only if you live in the US.
Yeah, but I live in the US and I don't give a shit. I'm like, whatever.
Well, I mean, they haven't done an XO show since 2013.
Yeah, and my question is, does anyone care? My question is, like, was anyone like, man, I wonder what Microsoft's going to show at the XO show? Look, here's what they're going to show. Crackdown 3, Halo Infinite, probably another fucking Forza, some indie games.
Drive, indies, and crickets.
and maybe a new controller. Wasting people's fucking time.
New controller, yet you have to put batteries in.
Yeah, because they haven't solved that one thing of having a controller that you don't need batteries for. Everyone else has solved that problem. You just plug it into the console and your shit runs. But Microsoft, they just can't. They just haven't solved that. They haven't solved that one problem yet. For some reason, they just can't.
I was going to say that somehow they always have that annoyance. I mean, unless you have that controller plugged into the system itself, it needs batteries.
They haven't figured out that one problem yet. Just that one issue is just holding them back. Just that one. I'm not sure why, but
I mean, controllers went from being linked to the system to being wireless but need a battery or two. And then we went with rechargeable batteries.
Yeah, back in the day, I mean, like, we went from you just plug the controller in the console to Microsoft comes in and they're like, hey guys, we got a good idea, folks. Batteries. It's like
somehow Microsoft keeps hitting the B button when it comes to evolving their controller.
Well, they keep going backwards because the original wireless controllers had batteries, so
Good point.
And then they went to wired that didn't require batteries. It's just a waste of time. It's just very annoying. That's all I'm saying. It's just really annoying.
The only time that wireless isn't a bad I mean, having a wire for your controller is not a bad thing. Would be for fighting games. At
Now,
least as far as I know.
moving on. Red Dead Redemption 2 is confirmed that it requires a mandatory download that's
How big?
105 gigabytes.
So basically, the hard drive space of a lower end laptop.
Hold on. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, 105 gigs is basically like if you got like a lower end laptop, like one of those netbooks that have like hard drive space of like 150, 120. Basically, if you include the OS, it takes it down to like 110, 105. So that's basically the entire hard drive space of that thing.
That is
Some bullshit.
I'm sorry. I'm breaking right now because I'm a programmer and you can't shrink that space. See?
It could be an attempt to make the PC version unappealing so people can buy the console versions instead.
Well, no.
No.
This
F you no.
This isn't a PC version thing. This is just them wanting to
Eat up all your space.
it's called dirty code. Like they don't want to tighten up that code. Which is weird because typically speaking, I mean, Rockstar is not a perfect company, but typically they do tend to make their games a bit more. Their games tend to be technically, on a technical level, better made.
I was gonna say, I thought they might need to lose some pounds when it comes to their code management.
No, I mean they tend to be better made. Just period. And I mean, most of the Rockstar games I played aren't that big. Like, you know, the GTA games weren't huge.
And they tend to be more compressed in the past.
Yeah. So.
Okay, I get that. It's just that it makes me wonder, how chunky is this?
I don't know, but it's GTA. I mean, it's Red Dead Redemption. I don't personally care because I don't like Red Dead Redemption, so I'm not a huge Red Dead fan. I didn't like the first one. I thought it was not that good, and I know some people are gonna be like,
"It's perfect."
What do you mean you don't like Red Dead Redemption? I don't like Red. I didn't like the first. I don't even like the first Red Dead game, Red Dead Revolver. Like, I'm not a huge fan of that game, and I don't really give a shit about Red Dead Redemption. Like, I was like, it's a Western game. I'm not really enthralled with it because it's not a very good Western game.
And that I could believe in.
It's okay. It's just not good.
Now, moving on to this other news, I'm debating whether or not I should mention it because sometimes I tend to get really tiresome of Red Fox's general ramblings on this certain subject, but Niantic and Game Freak just announced a new its name is Meltan, and it's related to
No.
All I'm gonna say is this, okay? I don't want anyone to ever tell me that they aren't running out of ideas, because now it's a nut. It's not like a
jokes are coming, ladies and gentlemen.
And no, I'm not. I don't mean like
there's already jokes about it being a nut.
I don't mean like a nut, like, you know, like bust a nut. I mean just a nut, like a
I said bad
nut,
jokes ahead,
like a lug nut.
I know this is prime for bad humor.
I'm just saying that just seems really like, and people jumped on me for saying, man, they had a fucking ice cream cone and some keys, but no, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, okay, fine then. But I mean, can we just admit that they're running out of ideas? Can we just admit it?
I fight you with some designs because beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. I'm gonna fight you on that one. But seriously, this Pokemon, no. I could agree with Red Fox on this one.
No, because anyone.
Okay, let's be quiet and let him contort himself while he explains it. Go ahead, explain why we're wrong, and it's not just a complete lack of creativity.
There's usually history behind the designs, even the much weirder and inorganic designs. Plus, the only reason people are saying Game Freak is out of ideas because they just want to draw porn of the more animalish Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here there's this image I found perfectly explains it, which I'll be posting on the group chat.
Enter at your own risk, Red Fox.
Can I just say one thing? If someone really wants to draw porn about something, they'll do it. And it is a nut. There is a hole in its head. So, I mean, if they really want to draw someone trying to have sex with it, they can do that, no problem.
Plus, you also have to understand that steel types, it's pretty hard to make a steel type Pokemon based on an animal. They are usually based off of inanimate objects.
No, I understand that. That's not what bothers me about it. Okay, what bothers me about it is that it's just look, here's the thing. Okay, this could be the most creative thing in the world, but like if you're trying to explain this to someone who doesn't know Pokemon, right? And just knows, has a very, very shallow knowledge of it. You say, well, they came out with a new Pokemon, and what is it? It's a nut. They're gonna look at it and say, what the fuck? This lame ass shit is this?
That depends if they only know the 151, which also has stuff like Magnemite and Grimer and Voltorb.
And here's the thing, and this is coming from somebody that goes beyond the 151, unlike Red Fox. And I say this is still bad design.
Are you sure? Because I've seen people actually. I've seen people actually I've seen some pretty positive receptions about it.
Here's what I'm gonna say, okay? And this is all I'm gonna say about it, and then we can move on to the next one. After everyone else says what they want to say. The game is just kind of, I mean, the new Pokemon just looks kind of, how can I put this nicely? Lame.
Lazily made by a 2-year-old.
It looks lame. It's like it's a nut with like a little gown on, and like almost kind of hands, but not quite. It just looks. It looks lazy. It looks even lazier than some of the other ones that I've said, man, that's some bullshit. But this looks particularly lazy to me. Now, I could be wrong, and this could have had a lot of thought put into it. It could be, it could just be, maybe I'm not appreciating the genius of it. This is the first time we've seen a Pokemon that maybe like when it first came, like its initial form looks kind of lame. And then later on, it looks kind of badass. We've seen this happen before, like with the starters. Well, I mean, the starters always are supposed to look kind of derpy, and then later on they look badass. But like, let's say you look at one of my favorite Pokemon, which is Flygon. Its initial form is Trapinch, which looks ridiculous and kind of stupid. But then it turns into Vibrava, which looks a little bit less ridiculous, and then it turns into Flygon, which looks not quite ultra badass, but still is pretty useful. So I mean, it just basically just kind of revolves into, I'll give it some more time. Maybe it'll turn out to be badass. I don't know, but
wait and see.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get the game. I might say, and if it's for a game that I already have, then I'll probably just get rid of it. But sell it. But whatever. I don't know.
guess we can move on before Mr. Red Fox starts more general rambling on Pokemon.
I think I kept that relatively tight. I mean, I didn't spend 10 minutes talking about how much bullshit it is. I just we'll give it a chance. Continue, sir.
Vivendi has dropped their chance on buying out Ubisoft.
Yeah, they're going to sell all their shares off by next year. So I guess Ubisoft managed to dodge that Vivendi
bullet.
Buy it.
They missed it by a hair.
So
I guess that's a good thing.
But now the question remains: will Ubisoft start improving themselves, or will they fall flat in the near future?
Considering how close they were to getting bought out, they better tighten up, or I could see them going the way of Telltale.
You mean Telltale?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is Vivendi. I don't think they're going to go the way of Telltale because Vivendi has so many. They have so many other things that they spend very little money on that make that have a low development cost but make a lot of money, like Let's Dance. Sorry, Just Dance. So.
Speaking of Telltale, they're going to attempt to finish off The Walking Dead final season by outsourcing their resources.
Is it gonna be even the same quality? Because we know if you fire the crew that makes product A and try to have
typically not going to be that good.
Somebody else make product A.
Yeah, it's typically not going to be that good.
It's not going to be the same flavor.
Yeah, here's what I'm going to say about that. I so want I know there are people who really like those Telltale games, so I'm not going to be like, well, fuck you if you like those games, because they like them.
Tell that to one of our contributors who pretty much hates Telltale with a passion because of their quote unquote snobby personality of being great storytellers.
Well, I mean, people are entitled to their opinion, but there are people who like those games. There are people who like.
And he also thinks that they deserve to be bankrupt.
Well, I mean, bad management and stuff like that. But I mean, there are people who like those games. It's kind of odd that they sold so many of those games and they still weren't able to make their money back. But then, I already did a video where I talked about. We already talked about this in a podcast where I was like, well, when you think about all those licensed games where they had to pay off, pay people for the licensing and stuff like that, no wonder they didn't have the money to, they weren't, even though they were selling a lot of something, it wasn't making the type of money it should have,
Yeah.
So I wish things were better, because I like some of Telltale's games I like. Like I liked The Wolf Among Us. Like that's actually a pretty good little adventure game. Yeah, it tells a really good story. It basically encapsulates the first collected volume 1 of that graphic novel series, and it's actually really good. So I mean, some of their games are good. I didn't like their Borderlands game because I frankly don't like. I'm not a huge fan of certain aspects of Borderlands, but I know there are people who love it. So, there are people who love that shit. So.
And finally, I'm saving this news for last, and you know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't. Go for it.
Bowsette.
Oh, God. I just realized what you're going at now. Let me explain this one for Red.
No, I'm pretty sure I know what it is. It's just I just don't really care that much about it.
Yeah, I'm just saying this for those that aren't in the know or probably think, what the F?
Basically,
somehow
there's a comic on Twitter that
explains it.
Yeah, it,
And I'm going to say this right now. Somehow Nintendo got so much of this that they got inspired to put this character in the new translation of a Wii U game.
Yeah, that's just. Ugh. Like, here's the thing: someone basically created a fake character that they wanted to smash.
actually, well, basically, it's based off of a comic on Twitter that was supposed to be played as a joke.
Yeah.
Then exploded, but it suddenly exploded, and people are started making fan art of that particular character.
Yeah,
And that opens floodgates that I didn't even think would be opened.
and like I said, I've never wanted, like, I don't want to think of Princess Peach or Bowser sexually because, like, I hate to say this, but there is nothing about Princess Peach to me that screams, yeah, she's totally a sexual being.
I was going to say, I consider Peach more as a troll woman that just gives out cake to being rescued.
Basically, to me, Princess Peach is genderless. And I know people are going to be like, what do you mean? Like I just don't want to think of Princess Peach as down to smash, you know?
Yeah, and adding a character that's clearly male, clearly unusual by some standards, and trying to personalize that into somebody else's body, that kind of makes doors open that shouldn't be opened.
Like having a fusion between two characters that I never want to see fused together is just not cool, but
And it is also expanded upon other Mario enemies such as Boos, Cheep Cheeps, Shy Guys.
The lava beasts.
Yeah, the lava beast.
You mean Gargantua Blarg? Like I never want to see. Like it's just stuff I don't want to see. You know, it's like the people who want to have sex with Pokemon.
It opens the doors.
Yeah, it's like people who want to have sex with Pokemon. It's like I don't want to. Mm-hmm. That's just disgusting. No.
And you know what the funniest part is? Nintendo was originally going to create their own Bowsette for Super Mario Odyssey,
but someone beat them to it. Beat them to the punch.
But it was a scrapped concept.
Yeah, but look, man, never underestimate the mind of sick people.
The minds of the I would say never underestimate the minds of the deepest part of the internet.
Actually, I was gonna say never underestimate the mind of horny nerds who have some art skills, because they will draw something and try and make it sexy, even though it doesn't need to be.
Not just artists, but also popular manga artists have joined the bandwagon.
Of course, because there's some people who always thought Princess Peach was attractive, and I'm like, she's okay.
To a degree, she's not bad, but she's not gotten that much.
Let me put it this way, okay? You want to know who the most attractive female character is in Mario Galaxy and Mario Odyssey?
The mayor.
Yeah, it's the mayor. You want to know why? Because we know that Pauline is down for a pound, okay?
I would argue that Rosalina is hotter.
Yeah, but she's not in she's not in Odyssey.
Yeah, I know, but I have to say
it. And here's the thing: Rosalina is hotter, but Rosalina is God, and like no one wants to think about having sex with God. Yeah, like because if you make her mad, like she can have your planet destroyed. So no one wants to have sex with God.
Or she could do some nasty things to you yourself.
Yeah, so no one wants to have sex with God. That's all I'm saying. Okay, God is off limits for
a number
of sexual exploits because it's God.
Not even Palutena is from Kid Icarus.
Because she's a god. Palutena is kind of a ripoff of a Greek god, and the Greek gods were, if you know anything about
those guys. Let's just say the Greek gods were known for their deviantness.
Well, they were known for getting down, all types of getting down. Like getting down with their grandchildren, getting down with their aunts, getting down with their mothers, their sisters.
They're known for their deviousness.
Brothers. They were
had no
uninhibited. Yeah, they were uninhibited. But you know, like that's a different thing. But you're talking about like you're talking about what's her name? Rosalina. Rosalina basically, she's the beings that create worlds called Mama. So she's basically God. So I mean, that's just something I'm not gonna mess with. I'm not gonna be starting shit with her. So I'm gonna stay out of it. But let's look and see if we have any questions in the comment section, and then we'll answer them and wrap things up if no one has anything to say. Because we roll like that sometimes. And
what's the first question?
I'm just saying if there are any questions. Okay. Trinell83 only has one question, so we only have one question to answer. Now that they avoided the buyout, will Ubisoft invest in games like Child of Light?
I say thumbs down. They aren't that creative, but they know when to not push their luck either, as far as I know. Or they don't know what quality is, and yet they get lucky somehow.
I think it's 50-50. They might do a few games, but it's not going to be like anything that's ultra significant because Ubisoft is just not that type of company. There's certain shit they just don't do because they're not that type of company, sadly. I wish they were, but they aren't.
And I'll say it's 50-50 as well for me.
Yeah.
2 50-50s and no.
Like if they do something, it's gonna be kind of like if they do a Child of Light 2, it's gonna be like they're not gonna put a lot of money into it. I mean, they're not gonna put a lot of care into it, and it's sad, but that's just how they roll. Ubisoft is like Namco Bandai. Like they take one step forward and then 2 steps back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's Ubisoft. It's like they do something good and then they fuck up. Well, hell, it's my podcast. They fuck it up. It's like one step forward, 1 step back. 2 steps back. It's like they're finally doing Beyond Good and Evil 2. Finally, we're getting a Beyond Good and Evil 2. But it's like, how many years did it take to get one,
Uh-huh.
So, it's been 3 gens at this point, almost. So anyway, anything else anyone else want to talk about before we wrap things up here? Let me look it up. I don't know what anyone's playing, but if you could possibly not play it loudly until we get to the end of the podcast.
Bendy and the Ink Machine got delayed to November. It was supposed to come out next month.
Yeah, we kind of knew that was going to happen. Because anytime a game gets really, really, really quiet and the developer isn't hyping up when it's about to release, it's probably going to get moved. But anyway, that's the end of this podcast. Everyone pimp out what they want to pimp out, and then we'll wrap things up, okay?
Well, with me, I'm being the playtester for a game of sorts, and I'm hopeful. If anything, I'm going to have more people to work with. So if anything, I'll be quiet on some fronts, but I'll be still around to drop some commentary every now and then.
All right.
And me, I just recently posted a new article on Video Game Facts on my new one of my series, PC Nostalgia, where I talk about PC games that I played in my younger years. This one involves Elmo's preschool.
What? No Oregon Trail? No, I'm joking. Okay, cool. That sounds cool. This is Mr. Red Fox. I will upload a full review of Dragon Quest XI on PC. Probably this week. I'll probably finish it this week, so look forward to that. What else? That's it. And you know, we do the normal BS Buster Sci-Fi Power Hour every weekend, 7:30. The first one's an hour, so 7:30 to 8:30. The second one is an hour and a half, so 7:30 to 9. Sometimes we go a little bit longer, sometimes we go a little bit shorter, but you know, it is what it is. And that's how we roll around here. Thank you. Peace. Good night. And enjoy.
And hype responsibly.
The
especially with the Minecraft rumors.
from Mojang.